It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome to an almost shutdown. By the way, Red Eye Radio will still be here if there is a government shutdown.
As far as you know.
Yes, we do not receive any funds from the federal government, so only grants from local government. I'm kidding.
This show is made possible by viewers like you.
You know, when I was reading a bunch of stuff yesterday, every time we have a shutdown, I just think of the TV show Cheers and Norm, when he asked, I don't know what was going on at Cheers, something was going on, and Norm kept asking the question throughout the entire program, hey, Sammy, how is this going to affect the cost of my beer? And Sammy said, it's not. He goes, then what do I care? The majority of people in the United States, that's probably when you look at, what happens in a shutdown, you get the loyalists on both sides supporting it, but it's what do independents think? Because when you look at it, Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid will continue, along with the Postal Service, Veterans Affairs, hospitals and clinics, Immigration and Border Patrol security activities, and more. Federal employees will likely go without pay, however. A string of agencies will see their services, this is from Fox News, hampered by furloughs like the IRS and Small Business Administration. Housing programs may also see a delay in rental assistance and loans. And so when you look at this here, it's interesting because I've seen more articles saying that the White House and the Republicans are quite confident that the Democrats are going to get blamed. I never know when you go through one of these. Last time the Democrats were blamed, it used to be, didn't it seem like it always used to be Republicans that were blamed? And last couple of years, whenever we had a shutdown or whatever, it seems like Democrats get the blame now.
Yeah, if you mean by blame, what comes from the media,
the polls.
Yeah, but the polls are for the people who are answering the polls. Most people don't actually care. Most people, I'm convinced this is, okay, they're going to go back and forth, and then eventually they'll fund it. And that's why they don't care, because they don't think a government shutdown is permanent. Nobody believes it's going to happen forever, because it's not. Because eventually they'll come to a deal. And I think, I just don't think it's the political football it used to be. I think they want it to be. I think both parties really want it to be a political football. But it just isn't.
In a memo put out by the Republicans, debunking the Democrats' shutdown delusion, sent to House GOP offices on Monday, what you would call the talking points. Mike Johnson is urging fellow House Republicans to keep the heat on Democrats in the government funding fight by arguing against their most often used points in the ongoing battle. Quote, Republicans have acted responsibly by advancing a clean, nonpartisan, 24-page continuing resolution that keeps funding at current levels through November 21st with no partisan policy riders. Apparently, there's only one rider in there, and that's more money after the Charlie Kirk assassination to beef up security for members of Congress and in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
It averts a government shutdown and ensures essential services and benefits continued uninterrupted for the American people, the memo says. Meanwhile, Democrats are doubling down on false narratives as the threat of a Democrat-led government shutdown looms. Democrats who once claimed that they were against shutdowns and said shutdowns would be dangerous, disastrous, and self-inflicted harm to seniors, veterans, service members, families, and the economy are now actively trying to force one over policies completely unrelated to government funding. The memo first quoted Democrats' attack The Republicans are working to end health care for millions of Americans, urging GOP lawmakers to fight back with the current funding bill is simply a short-form funding extension with no policy changes, and health care programs are fully funded at the current levels. Democrats want to hold a September government funding hostage over an unrelated December policy fight of their own making. Policy debates can happen separately, and Democrats don't need to shut down the government to do it. So, I look at this. The only thing is when I see, let me see if I can find the audio cut here, because I found this was interesting. I went, wow, if you can't even argue the first part of it without being called out by a Democrat. This is Democrat Texas Representative Gonzalez.
Well, that's exactly right. We saw this during.
Hang on. Okay, don't put me up yet. I've got to. There must be a problem here somewhere. Hang on. Okay, let's do it now. Okay, I think I've got it. This is Democrat Texas Representative Gonzalez falsely claiming that a shutdown can be averted only with Republican votes. He gets called out by Chris Cuomo. So here we go.
Well, let's begin with the premise that the Republicans are in the complete majority. They should have the votes on their own to pass any legislation, especially one of these simple CRs that they call very clean. I hope that we can get through this and not have a government shutdown. It's in the best interest of the American people.
Vicente, in the House, they do. In Congress, you've got the supermajority rule. You've got the 60-vote rule. That's why they can't do it.
Right. I think they could continue to work through it.
So he just ignored it completely.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
let me throw out the lie. And he knows it's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that any member of Congress, Democrat or Republican, doesn't know how the system works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to me, that shows me, that's just an example, makes me think, okay, they don't know how to sell this shutdown. Because when they sell the shutdown with a lie to begin with, they've got problems with their messaging.
Well, it's getting harder and harder to sell the shutdown. We go back to earlier this year with the continuing resolution, when they actually had an opportunity to hand it over, basically point the finger over to the Republicans and say, hey, we want to thank our Republican friends for continuing Biden's work here on the earlier continuing resolution this year.
That really didn't work, did it?
And they didn't try it. They didn't do it. And ended up, Chuck Schumer got the blame. And we said, all you have to do, look, in the House, we know Jeffries is going to do what he's got to do. But you make a phone call, Jeffries and Chuck get on the phone. Okay, by the time it gets over to the Senate, and you say, listen, we want to applaud the Republican Party for wanting to continue the agenda of the Biden administration. Yeah. We're all behind that. And, of course, they didn't take that. They didn't take that stance on it. And Chuck got his backside handed to him by his own party.
Right, because they could have we pounded that, saying, wow, politically, all they had to say is that, and they get the big win even in their own party.
Right.
Thank you so much, Republicans.
Right.
You have passed the current levels of what, and you can actually make that case in this one, because if they're continuing, if this continuing resolution is the current levels that they were doing it, and the current levels that right now are the current levels of the Biden administration, you could still make that argument now.
Yeah, then nothing has changed.
Right.
And you could say, wait, look, if the Republicans want to keep the Biden agenda going, we're all behind that. Or you could say, I don't know if Biden's name anymore is going to get you there. Our party's agenda going, then we're behind that. You don't want to mention Kamala either.
I have a better. Oh, I was going to say that. I have a better one. Harris's budget is continuing.
Well, they could say, loser. In fact, in honor, we would like to extend this continuing resolution, we suggest, for 107 days. And
take us through the new year.
Well, because, again, it's not the political football it used to be. In most people's minds, they're thinking, well, all right, the government shuts down, and then they'll find the fund. They'll get back to the funding, and then we'll get back to. And because this is the back and forth, they pretend like, oh my gosh, the world's going to end. Well, the world's not going to end, and the American people are looking at it going, no, we're not going to be bothered by this. So what do you do politically? I mean, it really is an inside the belt, becoming more and more, I should say, inside the beltway move. And the Republicans earlier this year, they were having problems internally because, remember, you had a number of the GOP members going, no, 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 no. And then finally, next thing you know, they're on to a continuing resolution. And conservatives were screaming, you're just continuing Biden's work here.
Right. You notice not a peep from that was brought up yesterday. You notice not a peep. As we said, the Republicans and what's his name from Texas, Chip Roy,
yeah,
they just gave up completely and just said, we can't get it done. And
you take your stance.
Then Chip Roy, I'm going to leave Congress, I think.
Right. You pretend to take your stance and then you vote for it 3 times. I mean, how does that work? There are, again, so many holes you can punch. I think people are just tired of messing with it outside the Beltway.
Yeah, but
I really think that's why it hasn't risen. Now there have been, of course, in recent days, some critical stories as to what's going on in the cultural war right now in the United States that have taken precedence, but it still isn't. I think yesterday and today, maybe on Sunday, seemed to be the most I'd really started to see about this whole thing, when typically it would be the battle. Oh my gosh, you won't be able to see. All of Washington, D.C. is going to be in the dark. There will be no electricity. Cats and dogs living together. It's not going to be.
No.
It just isn't going to be that. And maybe it's because so many cultural things and social things have hit so hard in recent weeks. Maybe it is because of that. Maybe people are going, you know what, you guys pretend one way or the other because we know the Republicans aren't against cutting now. So what are you doing? It really is. They pretend like they're taking a stance and that they're, I don't know, it's this weird fake virtue signaling, like they're being fiscally responsible. And none of them are.
Well, when I was, yesterday, of course, we follow all the stories, and we've been through the shutdowns before. But what, just looking at social media, which really does drive a lot of the narrative, you didn't even see the Republican or Trump influencers on this at all.
No,
it's all, the 200 National Guard they want to send, to Portland. It's that big story yesterday was the whole, J.K. Rowling, and it's her, the great big screed she put together saying, I don't have to. That just got a lot of talk on social media where she said, I don't ever have to go back and agree with anybody. Basically, is what she's saying.
Right.
It's like, well, are you going to make? I don't need to make friends with these, with these people, and that was on the radical, transgender movement, and then Trump on Ukraine, Trump and the Hamas deal. It was as if those things were what was really dominant in the media, and the whole shutdown was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Is it going to raise the cost of my beer?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically, I think, where we are right now. And I don't think it's temporary. I think it really is. I think the biggest part of it is that people realize neither side wants to do anything. Because think about this: if you're a rank and file person that says, "I want the government to spend more," well, that's not going to happen. If you're a fiscal conservative, the 3 that are left,
Are there 3?
Basically, our audience,
Okay.
which is just a few more than 3. It's yeah. I don't know. We'd have to count them. Well, on Capitol Hill, there's not any. There's not even 3 on Capitol Hill. But rank and file, the few that are left, the fiscal conservatives, do they expect real cuts? No, we don't. We've lost hope in the age of Doge. If we couldn't get it done, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. And so I think that's really where you are. I think it's people are going, yeah. You guys work it out. We'll see you next week. I think that's where the rank and file American is. Because there is no hope of any fiscal sanity in this country in my lifetime. And God help the future generations, because they're all going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. It's, how much things have changed in just a few months.
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, I mean, when you look at it, this isn't happening during the summer or before the summer when, national parks might be closed,
right,
and
yeah,
everything,
right.
when people are on vacation.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens, in the next couple of days. But we've covered so many of these. And normally in the past, not that the news mainstream media isn't talking about it or whatever, they're, trying the political activists trying to push it, that this is a Republican's fault, but it's just nobody really watches those things anymore. People really get their news from social media, and not that it wasn't covered, but it wasn't even close to the dominant story yesterday.
Yeah. No.
We'll see whether it is today. But and tomorrow,
unless there's another story, another big story that comes out, it's probably going to trend. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Did you know that up to half of all major engine failures are due to poor cooling system maintenance? That's a lot of downtime and can cost drivers big. You expect a lot from your engine, which is why the cooling system must be a part of your maintenance routine. Here's a tip to keep your cooling system in shape and your engine running smooth. Have the system properly flushed whenever the coolant is changed. Over time, contaminants from seals, oil, and fuel are released into the system and must be removed. And remember, flushing the system with the right coolant mix and water dilution is crucial. If you have coolant questions or need an expert to help flush your system, have your cooling system inspected by a professional technician.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just reading here. Zoran Mandami admits his free bus plan actually isn't free. It will cost taxpayers between $600 and $700 million every year. So it's just like
that's almost free.
Just
wow.
And I did it probably 5 times yesterday, looking to see if there's any new polls to see what it is. As we get closer now that, that Adams, dropped out, whether it makes any difference. Now that it's actually happened. I know they did hypotheticals on it where it didn't seem to matter that much. It was really between 10 and 13 points still. But just interesting to see as you get closer to the election whether anybody in New York City comes to their senses or not.
Well, they have 5 weeks from today to do so. The clock is ticking, New York City.
Then I read this headline, and we'll get to this. Philadelphia plans to raise the Chinese flag in a bizarre celebration of communism.
All right. Good luck.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. So today, Philadelphia's Office of Immigrant Affairs plans to hoist the red flag emblazoned with the star of the Chinese Communist Party in front of City Hall to celebrate the anniversary of the establishment of the Chinese Communist Party in Philadelphia. Philadelphia freedom. You might think, this is from Fox, you might think this is some sort of sick joke, but no, it's not even the first. The city of brotherly appeasement has flown the CCP flag twice before in 2017 and 2019. It was a disgrace then, and it's a disgrace now. All city residents should reject the leadership of Philadelphia's campaign to betray our founding principles, to virtue signal tolerance and diversity, a demonstration of weakness that China is only too happy to exploit. Understand, this is where the left and the Democrats are going. In order to raise a flag like that in front of Philadelphia City Hall, you would need the Democrat approval from the mayor, whatever, city council, or whatever. And so they wish to promote. So when we say these things, it's not, it's not we just came up with this out of the blue. This is what they wish to promote.
Yeah. Look, you've got a communist that right now has a healthy lead for the mayoral race in New York City. So, no surprise, Philadelphia wants to raise the communist flag.
In the year that we are now going to celebrate 250 years of our union.
Yes.
And so understand that when we say this, we just don't make it up.
Now,
this is what they believe. It's what they want. It's what they wish to do.
Are they going to put that communist flag at half-mast when the deal on TikTok goes through? Mourning the deal that communists no longer own TikTok. It's exactly what should be happening in these blue cities. Embrace your communism. Embrace your communism. It was a poll, Fox News did a poll on blue voters in New York City. And there was a significant chunk of those Democratic voters that were concerned that Mamdani was a bit too communist. And I thought to myself, I think it was like 28%, so it was a significant chunk. And I thought, yeah, but you're still going to vote for him. That's not going to keep you from, you're not going to not vote for him.
A bit too communist.
Yeah.
A bit.
Right.
Could you explain what a bit means?
Well, it's...
What part of communism do you accept?
We think you're going too far. How about you call it democratic socialism? That sounds much more acceptable. It's communism. Call it what it is and own it. And honestly, this is where the Democratic Party is. They have to decide what they're going to be in the future. They have to decide what the makeup of their party is going to be. Because you see the names for 28, and right now Newsom comes up, but so does AOC. I have no idea what their stage looks like in 2028.
What I think is interesting, and I don't know, because it's been now 24 hours. I noticed it yesterday overnight. And I saw other people picking it up, and it was Elon Musk posting what Bill Clinton, was saying.
Yeah.
And Newt Gingrich picked up on that, what Democrats used to think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting, to use that on social media so people know.
Yeah.
that you can hear, Clinton, you can hear other Democrats, Hillary absolutely blasting
Elon Musk is
illegal
posting
immigration
right now some videos. Actually, Libs of TikTok had some that he's reposting.
Yeah.
About that we should not be giving. This is Hillary Clinton, her position years ago. Of course, we should not give taxpayer-funded health care benefits to illegal aliens or encourage illegal immigration. That sounds very, very MAGA. And then what was the other one? Oh, deport any illegal alien who committed a crime. Hillary Clinton.
He's been posting stuff for the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It started on Sunday night. I got to see if I can find the okay. Oh, wow. He just posted this. He posted this one, yesterday. No. Libs of Tips.
Yeah,
TikTok
he's reposting something, a couple of things that Libs of TikTok, as I was saying.
But he had 2 days ago where he started it saying, funny to think that Bill Clinton's policies when he was president were essentially MAGA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's here's Hillary here. Here we go.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
Oh, that's racist.
Wow.
Wow.
That's racist Hillary Clinton.
Learn English. You have to learn English.
And then here was, because he's been having a blast doing this, here's what he posted this again, but I think I saw this yesterday also, but he posted this just 10 minutes ago with Hillary. Here we go. Here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
As to illegal aliens, we agree with you that we do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
The difference between Democrats and Republicans is when Republicans move on from their conservatism, conservatives in the party call them out.
Yeah.
Nobody has called out in the Democratic Party how they have changed.
No.
You don't hear this you may have writers like Roy Teixeira, the pollster Douglas Schoen once in a while will say, here's where Democrats used to stand. But I mean, members of their own party, members of Congress, nobody looks and says, Hillary will be interviewed. Nobody brings up ever the positions she used to have, which are, as Elon Musk said, MAGA.
Yeah, there's no active. There really isn't any active or a deliberate effort by the party as a group. The rank and file to call them out. Look. Chip Roy is a prime example, right, on fiscal matters. He was at the podium, and then all of a sudden he's voting just like all the others. And then, people were like, okay, fine. Shut the door. If you can't call out your own side. And Democrats, by the way, they know what's going on. They know this. They know that, like when Obama came into office, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman, and then he was grappling. And everybody knew he was lying. The left knew he was lying. And they weren't calling him on it. Now, we said to the left, why don't you want somebody standing up for what you believe? If this is what you believe, why aren't you calling them out on it? Why aren't you? Remember when what's his name said he had the evidence on the Russian collusion? who's now senator in California. He says, Adam Schiff, he says, I've got the evidence on Russian collusion. I've got the evidence. I got the evidence. Said it for the longest time. And there were all of these gotchas. They were trying to pretend like there were all of these gotcha moments along the way with Trump. Oh, we got him now. We got him now. We got him now. I said over and over again to the rank and file, why aren't you calling these liars out? You should be furious that they have nothing on him.
Yeah.
And they're lying to you saying they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had said that. We said, why aren't you furious at Schiff for lying to you? Because he lied to you. He said he gave you all this hope that they could get Trump, and they had all this stuff on him, and he was absolutely lying about it.
You should be livid over that.
And Democrats weren't
nope.
Upset.
Nope.
Democrats weren't upset. Remember in Obamacare.
Right.
When they were lied to about their doctors.
Yep. And they were okay with it. We actually had one that was intellectually honest with us one night on the phone. No, we know they lie, and we're okay with the lie because it gets us to the ultimate goal. And it should be, you shouldn't, and we said from the beginning, if you're on the left, you should own it. Whatever it is you believe, you should own it and promote it, because you obviously believe it's going to work, whatever it is. You believe it's the best idea to implement as policy. And you're not owning that, you're not standing up for it. It tells me you have no principles. It tells me you know it's not the right thing, and you have to lie about it. That's the truth.
It will be interesting because one of the problems that they have, the Democrats, the whole shutdown here, is nobody believes them anymore. And we've talked about that when you take such radical positions that people know are not true and not normal. As we say, they're not culturally normal. They don't pass a smell test. They're not scientific, but they're not normal. And the radical transgender movement is one of them, and they cannot back off on it. And as long as they stick to that, and as long as they stick to their identity politics, which is racism, they're losing more credibility every day by sticking with those issues. So if you make the big lie, why should anybody believe? For example, most people don't understand the budget. They don't know who's telling the truth. Because who knows? It's too complicated. It's trillions of dollars. I don't know. I have no idea. But I know that this guy is telling me that a boy can be a woman if the boy or man wishes to be a woman because they think so. And they should compete against women. Well, they have no credibility there. So on the things that I'm not sure of, they have no credibility there either.
Right.
And as long as they can continue to be the party of insanity on these issues that are self-evident to everyone. Self-evident.
Yeah.
We know. It's self-evident because of biology.
Right.
We know it. And as long as they continue to throw out insane positions that defy any reality, they are going to have a credibility problem. 866-98-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. There's got a blip in the news a couple of weeks ago, when we're talking about shutting down the government and everything else. Rand Paul over the weekend talking about his penny plan to balance the federal budget in 5 years. It actually isn't a penny plan, though. It's a 6 penny plan, and there's a difference between a penny and 6 pennies. And and we'll get to that here in a little bit, but it's interesting how, I remember when the penny plan was brought up before. I can't think of the congressperson in Florida who did it. I just have mind blank right now. This goes back, about 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, he's reintroduced it, except now because we've spent so much, it's got to be the 6 penny plan,
Well.
not the penny plan.
Adjusted for inflation.
Adjusted for inflation and interest rates, yes. But we'll have what he is proposing. He was on the Sunday morning news shows trying to sell it again. It's not going to go anywhere. He had 36 Republicans that agreed with him, no Democrats. But, it's not something, we've talked about this before, it's not something that the public is clamoring for.
No.
They're not. Our audience may understand the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
But Americans overall, they're not calling for this.
No.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, he is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. The one thing you and I were talking about on social media, that you can go through social media and get an idea of what they wish to promote. And it was, as soon as NFL football began, you and I said the same thing. We're like, everything's football now on social media. And it still is. Whatever game it is, it's like all of a sudden, boom, I get pounded. And I'm not on really a lot of sports sites at all.
Yeah.
When I'm on social media, it's for all the news sites out there, and all of a sudden, boom. So I don't know what the algorithm is.
Well, I think it's part of what I had suspected, probably most people suspected several years ago, and that is, look, in the digital age, professional sports is going to have to come around to where the fans are, right? You can't expect them to come to you for that 3.5 hours or whatever it is, or longer, all day for some people on Sunday. That's just part of it. You now have to go to them when they're not with you on Sunday. So after the game, all day Monday, and then Monday night, of course, before the game, after the game. And I'm getting the same thing. It's everywhere. The clips on YouTube, on all the social media, and it's really surging. I think a big part of it was them posting that huge comeback by your Bills a few weeks ago.
Oh, the Baltimore game? Yeah.
And that went, the comeback video went viral. I mean, it was insane, the numbers on that.
Especially the last probably 7 minutes of the game that took about an hour.
Yeah, right.
That seemed like it took it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had seen that also. And they broke that down. I mean, they had a short. It's fascinating because how I even watch football these days, I really don't have enough time in my life to watch a 3-hour football game.
Right.
But it's even more than that. I don't want any negativism anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I remember the last time the Bills won a championship, 1965, in my grandfather's room, everybody cheering as Butch Bird ran back that punt return with a great block from Paul McGuire as the Buffalo Bills beat the San Diego Chargers and won the AFL championship in 65. Other than that, it's been a long, dry road.
It's funny because I was thinking just the other day, the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, and I remember what I did. I called my dad on a landline because that's how long ago it was. And he answered on a landline. And, of course, my dad answers hello. And I said, how about them Cowboys? And that was I remember standing in my kitchen calling my dad. And that's interesting that you bring that up. But you're right. I think a lot of people are of the mindset. I think there's still clearly sports fans that, will spend all day doing it. But most people kind of expect now whatever it is in their interest to come to them. And that's how the algorithm works on social media. It's supposed to work that way. You show an interest on this, and then it's like, okay, and then it starts feeding you more of that. And I think we get trained to, oh, that's great. I can get a 10-minute clip. I can get the highlights. I can get whatever. I can get an update. I can get a reminder, whatever it is.
Well, for me, like, give you an example, this past Sunday. I was traveling. I didn't get back into the house till like 10:30, quarter to 11. The Bills game wasn't on. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, I just don't have time to go anywhere and watch it.
Right.
To watch 3 hours. So I wake up, because I go to sleep and they don't have all the highlights yet, so I already go to sleep. I wake up. And so they've got Yahoo puts it out. It's always on Yahoo. The NFL puts it out, and it's on the NFL actually puts it out. There's a couple of places you can get replays. NFL puts it out, and it's like a 15-minute, they cut down just to all the important plays of the game. And it's funny because I see that, and I go, well, I'm going to wait till just the positive plays of the Bills come out. I don't want to see what the other team is doing good. And so I'm down to, I was laughing yesterday because I saw it. I was like, it's like the extended version, and then it's like all the Bills' positive plays, and it's like 4 minutes instead of the 15. I went, well, that I can watch.
Yeah, right.
It's
exactly.
like, but 3 hours?
Yeah.
Really, 3 hours? I just don't have the time. And I love, as a kid, especially hockey. Hockey season's coming up now. I loved watching hockey as a kid. I would sit and I would stay there and I would watch an entire hockey game. Now, maybe it's just the mind of an adult. They play 82 games. Is really game number 11 that important where I have to watch it? Or should I just watch again? They put out, the, 10 or probably anywhere between 8 and 15 minute of the highlights of it.
Right.
And there's no announcer talking. There's the announcer doing the game, but there's no, they're not introducing it. It's just, here's the game. You hear the announcers, and they edit it very, very well. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, that's what I need. That's what I need. Give me it in short form. And I'm thinking to myself, by the way, since I'm going to give my age now, I will let you know that the best card that I got was from my brother-in-law and my sister.
Yeah.
And I open up the envelope, and these huge letters, very small letters, happy, and then huge, covers up 95% of the front, the front page cover of the card. 70th, huge 70.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I burst out laughing.
Well, that way you can see it without your readers on.
And well, my sister was, we saw it, and I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't. It was Tony. It was my brother-in-law, and he's smiling. I'm like, well, it was good. I got to give it to you. That's a perfect card to just rub it in.
Yeah.
But when I think of what I grew up with and what I prefer now, just think of somebody who didn't go through having just 3 TV channels, no instant replay. You saw the game, and you saw the game. There might have been a few replays on the news at night. You didn't have the long cable shows. There wasn't ESPN. Remember when Prime Time came out? That didn't exist.
Well, in fact, when you were a kid, you guys listened to the game by Morse code.
No, well, close. I can still remember, they would play and they won, but you'd have to watch the game to see what happened. Mm-hmm. And then it would be the next day. So this is Sunday. I would wait for the Monday, the evening Buffalo News, remember they had every newspaper had the picture page?
Mm-hmm.
And if it was a big victory, they would have the still pictures in color, not black and white.
Oh.
If it was a loss, you'd see a lot of black and white pictures.
Oh.
If it was a win, they would do the rare color picture, but the majority were still in black and white.
Right.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Still remember. When I was young.
you look at when you look at the front page, it's all in black and white. I'm not reading that. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, go to the picture page and it's like, black and white. What do you, black and white pictures? What do you, what's going? And now, I'll look at those, because you wanted the color so bad.
Right.
And I can still remember when the first color TV started coming out. I remember my brother and I, there was, I don't know, we were at my aunt's house and there was a, I don't even know why we were in the hotel that was near my aunt's house. And we were in the hotel and we were sitting there and the bars in there, they had a color TV. Now the color was not anything like high definition today. It sort of almost looked like, I don't know, a little bit of animation. But we were completely, it was like, oh my, is this heaven? It's like, it wasn't the best color. Now, again, there might have been snow from the antenna.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't remember is, you live in the local market. You live in Dallas. Every single Dallas Cowboys game is on.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to remember is when I was watching football, they had 0 home games on. You never saw a home game, at least in the NFL. I don't think you did even then either. You only saw the away games. And then I think it was probably in the 80s that they started, if you sold out the game.
Right, the sellout rule, yeah.
The sellout rule. Remember that? And then they would break, that was like Thursday. But if you didn't sell it out by Thursday, you could have a sellout and it wouldn't be on TV.
Yeah.
And now everything's on TV. And it, does it affect a winning program? No. May it affect a losing program? Probably not. A team that's losing because nobody wants to watch it on TV if your team stinks.
Yeah, well.
And so when I was young, that's the way things were.
Yeah.
So I just find it interesting how, and I wonder, for example, how, and I don't want to say addicted to my, because you and I and our smartphones, we're not playing games.
No.
When people say to me, you're always on your smartphone, I said, well, if I was sitting here with 3 newspapers and 4 newspapers in front of me, would you be saying, would that be a negative? Because that's what I'm looking at. Everything I'm looking for is news stories.
Yeah.
And analyzing of news stories and statistics and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but you're always on your phone. Like I said, if I had a hard copy newspaper, would you say that? No. It's good to see that you're reading the newspaper. Well, that's all I'm doing on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing it all the time, just like you. You never stop.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an addiction. If I don't check it every 10 minutes, it's like, something's happening. I don't even know what's happened yet. It's 10 minutes.
Well, it's more of, for me, more of clearing the desk, because if I don't check it for 30 to 45 minutes, the pile that's on my phone that I have to clear out is pretty substantial.
The updates?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, I go through that.
Yeah.
I go through that. I'll when you take off Do Not Disturb, especially, because mine Do Not Disturb is always on, especially when I sleep. When I wake up, and if you happen to go overnight without not doing it, boy, that's really long. The update,
I don't have I never use Do Not Disturb, so mine's just constant. It's just a constant.
Yeah,
feed.
I have it on.
Yeah,
a lot unless I'm expecting a call.
Yeah, it's a constant feed of everything, and it just depends on the news cycle. Beep. But right now, the news cycle just doesn't stop.
Beep, 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 beep. When mine's on during the day, it never stops.
Yeah, and I don't put sounders on mine.
Yeah,
because that would be annoying.
Well, the sounder's on mine, and when it goes off, if I'm not there within 10 seconds, I feel like I swear to you, it's a drug when that thing goes. It's like, I got to check my phone. 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 But I like it. I don't view anything negative about it. I want to know what's going on in the world because that's what we do.
Yeah, it's part of the job. I mean, you have to. Again, it's about, for me, clearing off the desk.
Well,
organizing.
That's the excuse I make. I mean, if I wasn't doing this job, would I be doing the same thing?
I've started wondering about that lately.
Probably.
I would have to pare down some of the topics of interest, I think, and some I'd go searching for instead of having them sent to me.
Oh, G-Dog sent me this.
All right.
He's 69 years old. He goes, we waited until Monday Night Football halftime to see the highlights of all the Sunday games. So did we.
Yeah.
And if your team made the highlights of Monday Night, but Monday Night Football wasn't around when I was watching football in the 60s. That didn't exist.
Right.
But in the 70s when that came out, yeah, absolutely. That would be it.
Yeah.
You'd sit there, you wouldn't really see many highlights at all. And then if Howard Cosell, if he was doing, at halftime, your game, but the biggest disappointment was waiting through a game you didn't care about, and get to the halftime, and they didn't use your highlights because they didn't do all the highlights.
Right.
So, but yeah, thanks for bringing. That's a great memory. Never forget. Oh my gosh, we made Howard Cosell's halftime show. We're something in the world.
Yeah. Right.
So there you go. All right. You want to hear about the penny plan?
All right.
We have the penny plan.
Okay.
The 6 penny plan.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up. You'll want to know about it with the shutdown and everything else. What Rand Paul is suggesting. All coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operator Mike Nichols is leased to Wayne Transports, pulling in their dry bulk division today after decades in business for himself. Speaking to Overdrive's Todd Dills recently, Nichols offered a word of advice to any company driver planning to make the switch to running as an owner-operator, unless you've got access to family money or otherwise independently wealthy, he noted.
As a company driver, you need to be thinking about startup capital and down payment, and I would just say that you need to treat that like you would firewood. Save what you think you might need and then triple it, if not quadruple it. And you'll be thankful that you did.
You'll be glad you did. That is, not just given favorable loan terms with a good down payment. Inevitably with trucking, you'll get hit with a breakdown and huge repair bill, or another of those unforeseen events. You'll need that reserve cash to cover it and avoid taking on debt or going out of business. Hear more from Overdrive's 2024 Trucker of the Year contenders at overdriveonline.com/PIB.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so with all this talk of a shutdown and the Democrats wanting to do more spending and everything else, enter Rand Paul, who says both parties are bankrupting America, and he has a plan.
All right.
He actually introduced it on September 18th to just okay, nobody really cared.
All right.
And so here he is out promoting it on the Sunday morning news shows this past weekend. Here we go.
The president is basically expecting a shutdown and possibly to carry out these mass layoffs. Do you think all of this is just a threat to make Democrats fold?
Well, I think both sides have to look at the proposals for spending and decide, what is the best way forward for the country. The Republican proposal adds about $2 trillion in debt over the next year, so it'll be short $2 trillion. So I oppose the Republican plan because it adds debt. The Democrat plan would add $3 trillion in debt. So really both plans are laden with deficit spending, and I think that's the biggest problem that our country faces. So I've actually proposed an alternative. I've proposed a penny plan, which would cut a little bit across the board, and my plan would balance over about 5 years. We got a vote on mine last week, and 36 Republicans supported it, 16 didn't, and no Democrats did. So my plan didn't pass either. But the plan that I would support would be a plan that reduces spending and reduces deficit spending.
All right, so a penny. Now, come on. You just take 1 penny? Mm-hmm. You can't get support from Republicans to take 1 penny off the budget?
No.
Well, that means if you're going to do that, I mean, we'd have to ask Rand Paul, would you index it for inflation, the budget? But it's actually not a penny. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll tell you exactly what his plan is and whether it is something within the realm of possibilities.
All right.
All coming up.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right. Just a note to all everybody on the far left. Just so you know this, I did some calculations the other day. Roughly 81% of the Trump administration is left.
Okay.
Just so you know. Okay.
All right.
We've only gone through about, and I'm rounding these numbers off, roughly 19%. There's still 81% to go.
All right.
So I'm just doing that to help people.
Yeah.
I like to help people. All right. You ready for this?
At least his current term.
And, yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not counting the third term.
Right. To be clear.
Right. And that, for Gavin Newsom, for all the Newsom supporters out there, if you count his third term and then his fourth term and then possibly his fifth term, they would probably be less than 1% of the Trump administration.
And Gavin, listen, dude, we know, and you know now, clearly, there's not going to be an election in 2028, so there's no reason for you to be on Colbert anymore.
Yes.
Now, time is limited to be on Colbert in the first place.
I think till next May, right?
I think.
Yeah.
But you can reel some of that in. No worries. You don't have the burden of having to do an exploratory committee or any of that garbage. Just worry about being the worst governor ever.
Oh, now wait a minute. You do have Hochul and Pritzker.
I think it's a tie.
Much like the Cowboys game yesterday.
It's going to be even. It's going to be an even score across the board.
Well, that did come up. We got to get rid of ties. You go through all of that and nobody wins? The score's like 40-40.
Yeah, sorry.
Touchdowns left and right and nobody wins?
If you can't come away with a winner, what are you doing? That's just stupid.
I've always hated it in hocky.
Well,
hated it.
Because nobody...
That's why I like the shootout now, at least.
Nobody is nobody ever is, yay, we tied.
Actually, I don't like the NHL. I mean, I like that they came up with a way so you don't have ties anymore.
Right.
They have the shootout, but that's like having a basketball game and deciding the winner by free throws.
Yeah. Right.
Or let's settle the tie. Well, we just can't get the tie. What are we going to do? Get the field goal kickers out here.
Right.
All right, you go back to 70 yards and see first one to make it from 70 yards, your team wins.
Right. Or get a fan on the field. Get a fan on the field and see if they can throw the football through a tire.
Like banana ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, because banana ball, if you're in the crowd and you catch it, it's an out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Bring a little bit of banana ball to it all.
Right.
All right, you ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Rand Paul and his penny plan. It's not really a penny plan. He explains that 7 years ago, that in his statement that was out September 18th, we could have balanced the budget with a freeze on spending without cutting anything. Since then, our national debt has skyrocketed to over $35 trillion, with $6.6 trillion just in the past 4 years. As he says, the greatest threat to our national security is our national debt. We're now in a situation that a simple penny, 2, 3, or even 5 pennies per dollar reduction is insufficient to balance our budget. So it actually isn't just 1 penny of the entire budget or 6 pennies off the entire budget. It's 6% of every dollar that we're spending, but you don't want to say that because it's much easier to say pennies, right?
Yeah, right.
Just taking 6 pennies off per dollar at 6%.
Right.
So the 6 penny plan is a federal budget resolution that will balance the budget outlays and revenues within 5 years by cutting 6 pennies off every dollar projected to be spent in the next 5 fiscal years, which means every year, the first year you'd cut, let me just see, you would cut, let me just see, was it 300 and something billion? Yeah, it was like 300 and something billion you would cut in the first year. But you would have to cut, you would end up cutting over that period of time 6% every year, 30%.
Yeah.
Think that's possible, Eric?
No.
The plan is the most recent in a series of plans that Dr. Paul has introduced to address the ever-worsening budget crisis. In the 100 days between CBO's February and June budget baselines, the federal government added an additional $540 billion to the national debt. That's an additional $1,600 per U.S. citizen. CBO's June estimates increased projected deficit by $2.5 trillion over CBO's February estimates. Interest payments on the debt account for more spending now than the entire defense budget. At over $35 trillion, the national debt is nearly double the amount of total bank deposits in the U.S. In other words, emptying every bank account in the United States would only cover about half of the government's debt. In 2017, he introduced a budget that would require a spending freeze to balance in 5 years. An annual 6% cut is now required to achieve the same results. That's 6% every year. The chances of that passing, 0.
Yeah.
You would reduce spending by $329 billion in the first year.
Yeah.
The plan would cut 6% until balance in year 5, then allow spending to rise with the pace of revenues in the 5 years remaining. Makes no specific policy assumptions. All savings are reflected in the newly defined budget function 930, new efficiencies, consolidations, and other savings. The budget sets a goal of balance and then calls on Congress to make changes needed to achieve the objective. Assume the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act is made permanent, originally set to expire in 2027. Since the CBO originally assumed this would expire and federal revenues would increase, the plan amounts for the decrease in projected revenues if it were to be made permanent. So there you go. Said Dr. Paul's 6-penny plan has wide support.
What?
For decades, the government has spent beyond its means and is expecting hardworking taxpayers to foot the bill. This reckless spending in Washington has delivered nothing but record inflation, leaving the American people unable to make ends meet. It's past time for Congress to make the hard decisions required to put our financial house back in order. Heritage Action thanks Senator Paul for his consistent support for fiscal responsibility and backs his 6-penny plan to balance the budget. Citizens Against Government Waste supports it. They used to put out the pork book. Remember the pork book?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I I don't see where the wide support is.
Yeah, define wide. I don't get that at all. Has wide support? No, it doesn't. Look, I wish it did.
So do I. Yeah.
I would love for this to happen. But
it's not.
I'm a realist.
Right.
I have to live in reality.
Well, we had talked about Doge. And when it happened.
Yeah.
And we said, quit hyping what you can't do. We said that to Elon Musk.
Right.
We said it to the president.
Right.
We said it to Caroline Leavitt, who was out there every single day talking about the billions we're saving. And they were talking $1 trillion a year and $2 trillion a year. And we said it's not going to happen.
Right.
And nobody talks about Doge anymore.
No.
Gone.
Yeah.
Not any talk with all that hype and hoopla.
It was never real.
Yep.
It was never real. Because if it were, there would still be a fight to keep it around.
Well, you can't even get a fight to make any cuts in any type of continuing resolution, not even anything.
No,
you can't get anything.
no.
I mean, you can't. I mean, Chip Roy's given up. Everybody's just given up. There's nobody in Congress,
right?
That's talking about it. Remember, it was like, well, the president said he's going to do it through executive order. Everybody's forgotten about that one. Remember that?
Yeah.
A couple of months ago.
Well, and quite unfortunately, when I hear the words Rand Paul, it's like, okay, well, I mean, here's, and God bless him for wanting to do that, but it's not going to happen.
It was Connie Mack. Thank you for telling me during the break. Connie Mack,
Yes,
former
Mack.
Representative Connie Mack, that came up with the original penny plan. But
Right.
the interesting thing is, he's out there selling it as the penny plan. He doesn't even want to say 6 penny plan.
It's not really a penny plan.
When I saw that, it was like, wait a minute, isn't that 6 pennies? I go, let me go verify that again. Oh, it's 6 pennies, not 1 penny. But you just can't say, if you tell Americans 6 pennies, they go, look, I'll go for a penny. But the whole thing of a penny gives you the assumption you're talking about just keeping the budget, just no increase in spending.
Right.
Because you're thinking a penny off the budget. Okay, you're just saying
It's one penny from every federal dollar. This is how Connie Mack broke it down. Cut 1 penny with 1% from every federal dollar spent.
But this is 6 pennies.
Yep.
From every dollar,
Mm-hmm.
which is 6% a year for 5 years, 30% off currently what you would be spending. A little bit less, because if you're taking 5% off a reduced budget next year, it would be less. So 25 to 29% or something like that is what you would have to cut the federal budget to get to that plan. That's not happening.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. Because in order to do that, you have to have, in order to cut that kind of amount, you would have to change Social Security and Medicare.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
I don't think
or you'd have to send a ton of things back to the states.
And your look, even if he had started with the original Connie Mack plan, 1%, just 1%, cut 1%, not going to go anywhere.
Well, we remember when Paul Ryan put out his plan, and this is going back to 2011 and 12, to balance the budget. See, Rand Paul wants a 6 penny plan that would balance the budget in 5 years.
Yeah.
In 2017, there was just, we didn't have to cut anything, just don't increase spending, and they could do it in 5 years. It's that urgent, he's saying. Back in 2011, 2012, Paul Ryan came up with a plan to balance the budget, what was it, in 35 years?
Yeah, I think it was 30, but yeah.
30? Okay.
Yeah.
30 years. And the Democrats put out commercials. It was one of the reasons they believe that he did it in the... I forgot when he did it exactly. Was it in Summer of 2012 or 2011?
Yeah, it was
Because I remember it was
sometime around.
It was around the convention.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the commercials came out with Paul Ryan pushing old people off. Remember the cliff in the wheelchair?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah, they took out these full page ads and had basically an actor that looked a lot like Paul Ryan.
And the goal was 30 years to balance the budget.
That's right.
And that was viewed as too radical.
Right. Well, it's too radical for conservatives because we were like 30 years. You can't take 30 years.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So YouTube had to pay Trump $25 million for banning him.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, I wondered about other lawsuits coming from other users or content providers that were also banned. There's no doubt there are some. There have to be more. And this one obviously was going to get the attention. But I wonder how many more might be announced down the pike, settlements. Maybe there's a whole slew of settlements that aren't announced, and there are non-disclosure agreements between the parties. I don't know.
Have you heard anyone on the left talk about this at all?
No.
Anyone?
No. And it's a huge story.
Right, because it's where Google admits they came out and said, no, we did it because of the pressure from the Biden administration.
Right.
When we talk censoring, that's why any Democrat that says, well, we need to not censor, they don't mean it.
No.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for being here, as always. Well, here we go. The Trump-Netanyahu deal.
Yeah.
Here's Benjamin Netanyahu talking about it yesterday from the White House.
But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrifice the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres.
I did see where, look, it's a great thing what's going on, but it's just a comment from Trump saying this will get rid of violence in the Middle East forever. Islamic radicalism and the hatred of Jews isn't going away. You're hoping to solve.
Right.
You're hoping to win this battle.
Well,
the war has been going on for centuries,
and the continuation of this particular war is up to Hamas as it's always been from the beginning.
Yeah.
It relies on Hamas essentially releasing the hostages. You know, the previous deal had said within 48 hours. This new deal says 72 hours. And also, ultimately, relinquishing power.
Right. Hamas has to relinquish power in Gaza. Will they go away? They may not be called Hamas anymore, but they'll exist in the Middle East.
Oh, you know, that's
and,
the ultimate concern, that if you got everything on paper that you wanted, let's say you're asking of Hamas here, do you actually believe they're just going to end what they believe is their goal and what their purpose is?
Right. The point is not Hamas, so it's Islamic radicalism isn't going away. It may be under a different name.
Right, but
this is a battle that we're going to be fighting as long as we're alive, the generation after us, the generation after that. That's not going away.
And the point I'm making is that I don't expect Hamas to go away.
Yeah.
I think Hamas is, which they've been very, in fact, persistent at, is going to, if they agree to it, it's only giving them time to regroup. I don't have any confidence this is the end of Hamas.
What the deal is, here's the deal. Let me just get it here. After a modest Israeli withdrawal, the deal requires Hamas to free all 48 Israeli hostages, dead or alive, within 72 hours of acceptance. In exchange, Israel would release 1,000 Gazans detained since the start of the war, as well as 250 terrorists serving life sentences for killing Israelis. Israel's agreed to that. As Wall Street Journal points out, not a fair trade because it encourages more hostage taking, but Israelis will accept it if these other conditions are met. If Hamas accepts it, the war would halt and aid would surge. Israel would gradually withdraw from Gaza in accordance with Hamas's disarmament. A stabilization force led by Arab states, which again is a solution and a problem at the same time.
Yeah.
Would take over Gaza in phases, and a committee of Palestinian technocrats, whatever the hell that means, supervised by a board of peace chaired by Mr. Trump, would handle civil administration. Gaza would undergo a program of de-radicalization. All Gazans would be allowed to stay, leave, or return later. Hamas members who disarm could be granted amnesty or leave Gaza. Hamas would have no role in the governance at all. I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, Mr. Trump said. But as the Wall Street Journal writes, there's ample reason for skepticism on that note.
Yeah.
Hamas needs the hostages to manipulate the Israelis. It needs weapons to stay relevant, even under Qatari pressure, which U.S. officials believe was generated at last by Israel's September 9th strike in Qatar. Hamas is unlikely to surrender all of its leverage up front. The deal then rests on hopeful fiction. More relevant is what happens if the fiction is dispelled and Hamas clings to some or all of the hostages and arms. In that event, the plan is for the deal to proceed in the areas of Gaza under Israeli control. This means Arab states would build the government to replace Hamas's authority in Gaza, even as Israel continues fighting. For Hamas, that could be the worst of both worlds. Israel would have the full backing from the United States to finish the job, Mr. Trump said, if Hamas rejects the deal or if the Arab states are unable to disarm Hamas. The key for peace, he recognized, is ending the threat from Iran's terror proxy. Mr. Trump has offered Israel a potential end to its war, a plan embraced by regional Arab powers. Mr. Netanyahu, who can boast of victories over Iran and Hezbollah, said he now has his day-after plan for Gaza with Israel's war aim satisfied. This could help him restore Israel's international position and move to improve it by expanding Mr. Trump's Abraham Accords, which would be great if they could ever get there. Some parts of the deal could pose challenges for Israel. One is a spot for the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority on the committee to govern Gaza. Arab states insist on it to give their intervention legitimacy, but the deal says that the Palestinian Authority will take up its role only after it de-radicalizes and makes stringent reforms laid out by Mr. Trump in 2020. If the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms, Mr. Trump said, they'll only have themselves to blame. If it does reform, all the better for Israel and peace. Another is the proposal aspiration that if the Palestinian Authority reforms, this may yield the right conditions for a pathway for Palestinian statehood. To talk about statehood after the massacre on October 7th sounds suicidal to Israelis. Mr. Trump says he understands this, but at the level of a distant aspiration, it need not hold up progress today. The third issue is reconstruction of Gaza, which is supposed to start immediately. It can't be another United Nations or Qatar-led restoration that supplied Hamas and spawned war after war. This is an opportunity to end the anomaly of permanent Palestinian refugee camps and anti-Semitic indoctrination. That leaves the Israeli phased withdrawal, which is linked to the extent of Hamas's disarmament. Mr. Netanyahu said Israeli would also keep a security buffer zone for what he calls the foreseeable future. These are crucial conditions because whatever fine words are offered, only Israelis will fight Hamas to keep Israel safe. The more Israel is able to carry out security operations against Hamas going forward, the less likely we are to see another Gaza war like this one. Credit Mr. Trump for winning regional buy-in for the deal that recognizes this. So, look, you get what Trump is doing, you've got to do. There's a lot of moving parts here, and whether any of it will come to fruition, you will at least know, just like in the Ukraine war, where Trump has come out and, we'll get to the Tomahawk missile thing here in a little bit. He realizes, or he's stating that he realizes that he can't trust, that Zelensky isn't the problem, Putin's the problem.
Right.
And so it's where do you go? The plans are all great, but what will the political pressure be? Remember, Trump's in office for another 3 years.
Yeah.
Will this thing take longer than 3 years? Probably. If Democrats are in power, it all goes to hell.
Right. Yeah, and the question here, too, is what is the confidence by Israel that Hamas is going to cooperate? It has to be close to zero.
And what is the confidence that whatever Arab states are involved in it? And again, creating a Palestinian Authority, what's a Palestinian Authority? Define that for me.
Yeah, right.
What's a Palestinian Authority if Hamas is completely disarmed?
Right. Yeah, who takes control? Who gets the authority? Who decides that authority? Who is the international body that Israel would essentially turn control over to in an interim period? All of those things sound like fantasy to me.
Well,
the whole deal, in fact, when it was announced, sounded like, hey, we've got an idea, not like a deal at all.
Well, what I fear is you get it started, Hamas goes through the process of starting to disarm, the other Arab nations come in, and the massive terrorist acts and bombings start.
Yeah.
Which, again, Hamas can claim it's not us.
Right.
We've disarmed.
Right.
These are other radicals acting independently, but the whole thing is to create chaos and keep the progress from moving on.
Right.
That's the fear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I just don't have any confidence in any peace, with the exception of eliminating Hamas. But again, then you have other proxies of Iran and other extremist groups that move in to fill the void if Hamas was eliminated. This is the very real situation that Israel is in.
Right. And if you are trying to, well, the parts of Gaza that are under Israeli control, well, then we're going to let these Arab countries move in to take care of the civil authority under the watchful eye of President Trump and the board of directors of Gaza. And so as you're fighting in parts of Gaza, the other part is going to be completely and totally secure, or is that where the terrorist bombings then start at that point?
Right. Well,
and that's the challenge that you have in this.
Well, because the long-running MO of Hamas has been to build this, I don't know, imagery of peace or quiet. That, there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. Next thing you know, October 7th happens. And I just don't trust any of it. I don't. I wish it could be the case. I wish it could be that there wouldn't be a situation like this in Gaza. But, again, I have to be a realist.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I found the quote from Trump yesterday. If Hamas accepts the deal, quote, we'll have eternal peace in the Middle East. That may be a tad optimistic.
Yeah.
Just a tad.
Yeah, just a bit. Just a bit. Look, I would love for it to be the case. I would. But again, given the history, I just don't have confidence. I don't.
They are setting that a line in the sand has been set.
Yep.
You have to disarm. You have to be gone.
Yeah.
You cannot be a part of the new government. The line has been set. The enforcement is if you don't agree to it, Israel can then do what they want.
Yeah. Right.
At that point, with our permission and our support. We're not going to be doing the fighting. Israel's going to be doing the fighting, but that is drawing a line in the sand at that particular point.
Yeah.
Now, if they do that, then all bets are off as to, when you would see a possibility of Hamas being defeated by, I guess, Israel's standards, and then where do you proceed after that?
Right.
Will the Arab nations come in at that point, or are the Arab nations only in here? Only in if this deal goes through. And who are these Arab nations, and who are the people in these Arab nations that would be in control of have authority over the civilian population? Who are they? There's so many questions to be asked.
Well, because there's so many moving parts.
Right.
And in a historically volatile, very volatile situation, highly unpredictable, and something that just isn't trustworthy.
Well, and when you talk Qatar, for example, and we've talked, look, this wasn't President Trump's doing. Trump didn't create the relationship, the weird relationship we have with Qatar, where, okay, we've got bases there and they're allies, yet we're okay with them, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that they had Hamas leadership there. And then when Israel goes to take them out, it's like, oh, okay, where do we go at this point? Everybody's a little bit uncomfortable. So, we can say what we want and what we wish to do, and you can wipe out Hamas, but you can't wipe out Islamic radicalism and the hatred towards the Jews in the Middle East and the hatred towards Israel. You can move forward, and maybe you can get more Abraham Accords, which would strengthen it long term. Again, I think Trump has done an incredible job on what he's already done with the Abraham Accords in the Middle East to begin with.
Yeah.
And the way he's gone through this. What we're talking about is the long-term success in Gaza. Remember, what he's telling them, what he's telling Hamas is you have to be defeated completely, unconditional surrender, or we kill you.
Right.
Or unconditional surrender, and we'll move forward with a civilian Palestinian Authority under the direction of the Arabs and the board of Gaza that Trump will lead.
Right.
Well, you got a lot of moving parts there.
Yep. And as you point out, Trump isn't going to be president forever. Only maybe, quite possibly, 9 or 12 more years.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when and where you choose. I thought we might have been done with the Kamala Harris book over the weekend.
Well,
I really did. I thought, okay, this is it. And then all of a sudden, boom, it appears again. I was wondering whether, the mainstream media colluded together and said, all right, let's stop covering this.
I know they'd like to.
This isn't helping us at all. Just stop it. The story was out yesterday that Harris reveals the crude hypotheticals that she was talking about. That what if Trump came and asked her if she ever had an abortion? She would say, it's none of your business. And by the way, do you take Viagra? I don't know how that would have been a response. When I saw that, I read that yesterday, I said, this is sort of like the Seinfeld Jerk Store episode. Where George is always trying to find a proper comeback. And he can never find a proper comeback. That's what I thought of when I saw that with her. Oh, he was going to ask me if we went through all the hypotheticals. What if he asked if you had an abortion? I told him it's none of his business. And do you take Viagra? I don't. And then she did add after that, have you ever paid for an abortion? But when they talked abortion, none of that ever came. It never came to that. But I just loved the first answer. And do you take Viagra? What?
What? Huh?
It's like a Costanza answer. It didn't make any sense. But then the Hill.com, there they are, the Hill.com covering a story on it, as did others yesterday. This one yesterday, Douglas Schoen, the Democrat, as we've talked about, pollster. Harris's book puts Democrats between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is, I read this wrong. It said the book pulls back the curtain on Harris's and I read it, hilariously short presidential run. It was historically, but I actually read it wrong the first time. I burst when I read it, not here on the air, but before I started laughing. I go, wow, why did they put, it's historically. It's like, it goes, the book pulls back the curtain, but in doing so, it has somehow managed to put the Democratic Party in a worse spot than it once was. Well, what did you expect? Of course it was going to.
Yeah, of course. Wow. Is that a Freudian dyslexia that you have?
Yes, exactly. Because Kamala Harris's hilariously short presidential run. And I'm laughing going, well, that's great running. It's really interesting coming from it's historically. Oh, okay.
That actually happens to me quite often because my mind wants it to be hysterically.
Exactly.
But I've done that. I actually have done that several times in recent weeks over stories like that. It's like, wow, why did they? That sounds like a commentary. Oh, that's not what it says at all.
But does it affect us that way because of what we went through once it was that weekend that I think the Sunday, right? And then the Sunday, then the Monday when it all happened. Mm-hmm. And by the time we got to Tuesday or Wednesday of that week, it was very quick is when that first ad came out where she talked about she was going to be tougher on the border than Trump.
Yeah.
And that to you and I, that was the first thing that came out in her campaign, and we lost it that night laughing. We probably played that ad, that commercial, that political commercial, I don't know, 10 times in that one dang show.
Yeah.
We're like, can you believe she's actually trying to sell this?
Yeah.
I would be tougher on the border than Donald Trump has let these illegal immigrants through. I go, what the hell are you talking about? You trying to sound like Hillary and Bill 30 years ago? Yeah. Nobody bought it at all, and eventually she had to back off from that position. So that's why when I read, that's how I view the beginning of her campaign last year, which is why I read it hilariously. Harris hilariously short presidential run.
Yeah.
And it was historically.
Yeah.
But it says Harris also did herself no favors. A longtime Democratic operative, David Axelrod, put it, if there's a political strategy here for Harris, it's a bad one. The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, who read the book prior to its release, warned readers that Harris was no longer interested in holding back. And indeed, 107 days has proven to be even more contentious than imagine from her decision not to select Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. And her answer was great.
Yeah.
That was, and she didn't convince the liberal media. If you didn't hear it, she was asked the question, well, you didn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay. No, that's not the case. I did not. That's wrong. I did not pick Pete Buttigieg because he's gay. It's because I had 107 days and he's gay.
Right. 108 days, he would have been in.
And I couldn't take the chance.
Yeah.
Like, my God. Let me see. Goes from her decision not to select former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg as her running mate because of his sexuality to her comments about the recklessness of former President Joe Biden seeking re-election, Harris has poured salt on wounds that hadn't quite healed yet. Indeed, many Democrats are expressing their frustrations with the book, noting the poor timing of its release, its disloyalty, and the consequences it will almost certainly have for Democrats' already fragile brand. In the same vein, it appears exceedingly obvious that Harris is interested in blaming virtually everyone and everything for her loss aside from herself. The Bidens, the administration, voters' prejudices, blah, 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 blah. One Democrat strategist argued that the former vice president is blaming everybody but herself. An advisor to a potential 2028 candidate echoed this, saying that it is crazy she chose to write a gossip book that prioritizes the pettiness of her politics. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow. And I just love this one here. They talk about, for one, Harris's inability to separate herself from Biden and his policies was a crucial talking point for the Republicans that last election cycle. It is plausible that now, through the release of the memoir, she's trying to change that narrative ahead of another possible bid for the Oval Office. In her recent sit-down with The View, Harris confronted her previous claim that she would not have done anything different from Biden. She revealed at that time she hadn't realized how much people wanted to know there was a difference between them. She's lying.
Yeah.
How do I know that? Because the first ad was the ad that she would be tougher on the border than Trump.
Right.
That's how we know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, just make it up as you go along.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
And as they write here, put another way, Harris is backpedaling. And this, remember, this is from a Democrat writing this. Whether that's because of future presidential ambitions or for her own morale.
Well, no, I think it's the latter. I was about to say none of this is about 28 or beyond.
I did the book for my own morale.
No, I think that's it.
If I BS'd myself in a book, if I BS'd about what actually happened, it would boost my morale.
Right.
I'll buy my own BS.
No, I think that's the only reason it's done. I think it's the only thing she's trying to accomplish. Look, if you're trying to run in 28, the last thing you're going to do is throw every single person under the bus.
I'm having so much fun reading this article from The Hill. I mean, when I read it the first time, I was like, this is great. And Douglas Schoen, again, a Democratic pollster, wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this way, though. Just listen to this here. Put another way, Harris is backpedaling, whether that's because of future presidential ambitions or for her own morale, which I may never be able to get over that sentence, Sarah. It is evident that she has thrown a wrench into Democrats' plan to finally secure a win against MAGA Republicans in the next few election cycles. However, the downfall of the Democratic Party cannot be solely attributed to Harris's book.
You can't. Come on, guys. You can't blame it all
It can't
on her
all
book.
be on the book. Rather, it's due to a number of internal
my
conflicts,
gosh.
including the absence of a party leader, soft stances on key issues like the economy and immigration, and the ability to stand up to the Trump administration. Unfortunately, 107 days was the cherry on the top. Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Soft stances on key issues. Now, he's soft selling it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a soft stance is not a man can be a woman because the man says so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's not soft sell the soft stance thing. Yeah. No, these are very radical positions. Yeah. Yeah. You can't blame it all. You can't blame it all on her book.
Oh my gosh, it's just it's just so great.
Wow.
So Douglas Schoen is a political consultant who served as an advisor to President Bill Clinton and to the 2020 presidential campaign of Michael Bloomberg. He is the author of The End of Democracy, Russia and China on the Rise and America in Retreat. So
Yeah.
But he, along with Teixeira last year, Roy Teixeira last year, this is before Biden dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that were saying that, they were the ones that, look, they've got to drop these insane stances on the issues that they hold.
Yeah.
You can't be sitting there. You got to drop the radical transgender movement. You can't be the party of identity politics. People aren't there in 2025.
No.
No.
You know,
I was explaining that the other day, critical race theory, the other day to some people. They go, what is that? I go, well, it's the belief that whites are all culturally racist to the point it might as well be in their DNA, and therefore all of society must be set up as to the fact that institutionalized racism is always there in the hearts and minds of whites.
Yeah.
And every young person, a couple of young people, they're looking at me and they go, well, that's not true.
Right.
I go, I know. But they're trying to sell that.
Yeah.
And that's why you can't sell that in 2025. And if you can't sell that, if you can't tell identity politics, if you can't sell that, you're not going to sell the radical transgender movement.
Yeah.
And I do think it goes to the credibility, I think, even for the possible shutdown, Eric. I really do. That once people realize you're full of crap, and the radical transgender movement and identity politics has just destroyed Democrats, absolutely destroyed, and the border absolutely destroyed them. Yeah. The whole time that the border secure to the border secure on one side of the TV, on the TV picture in front of you, and the other side, thousands crossing the border unimpeded. Go back to 2020.
Yep.
Mostly peaceful protests.
Yep.
All of that.
No, I think actually, you know what? I think on the government shutdown, I think there are a couple of things. I think on the right, we have no confidence for those of us who are conservative, fiscal conservatives and want cuts. We have zero confidence they're going to get any cuts done. Look, God bless Rand Paul, but it's not going to happen. And on the left, they're just not believing anything that they're for the rank and file on the left. They're not believing anything the Democrats are trying to sell. I really think that's why this whole thing has just been is just a wash these days. It's like, none of them actually mean it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. I'm telling you, those are the kind of things, that article by Douglas Schoen from thehill.com about Kamala Harris. That's pure comedy. It really, really is. I appreciate the fact that in the trials and tribulations that we have today, that there's so much comic relief out there. Because that was just wonderful.
I haven't laughed that hard in a while. Hey, we can't blame everything on the book. Oh, my gosh.
Maybe a few other problems the Democrats have besides Kamala's book. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, just
so
precious.
But it tells you that it shows you how many Democrats are just looking at the book going, what the hell? What? She's just torching everything. It's like she's just lighting matches and just, tossing them in everybody's direction and throwing everybody under the proverbial
What I like
bus.
is, did she write it to be president or for her own morale?
Yeah.
That was the best.
I think it was for her own morale.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. We are Red Eye Radio. I just can't wait. Bad Bunny. I can't wait for Bad Bunny. Now, last night when I left the house, I had to get out of the car because I had Digging Bunny on my front lawn. So I got rid of Digging Bunny, but Bad Bunny, the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl. Bad Bunny, who said not going to tour the United States because of Trump and ICE. But we'll be at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay. Has the president announced if he's going to the Super Bowl? Shows up right before the halftime show.
He introduces them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't like him.
Yeah.
The guys, I can't even imagine trying to think of how Trump would say it.
Yeah.
But I'm reading here Babylon B. The NFL is hoping to win back conservatives with the Super Bowl performance by a Spanish-speaking man in a dress. And it shows Bad Bunny in a dress.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And so then the questions begin. Why are they doing it? I mean, what's going on here? What is this? Are they too many on the left upset that they honored Charlie Kirk? Is it in order to get more Central and South American interest?
Yeah.
Which it could be.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think the last Super Bowl I watched was 2006. I've not seen a Super Bowl since.
Yeah.
Because it was a year after I started on this show, and I took off one more 3-day weekend in 2006 because I used to take the Super Bowl weekend off.
Right.
And it used to be my annual trip to Florida to see my buddy Jerry and Mary.
Right.
Jer, Mare, and Gare.
Yeah.
And so then on this shift I just didn't do it. And I have not seen live and probably relatively few highlights. I'm talking less than 5 minutes of highlights from all the Super Bowls combined since that time. I just, sleeping all the time. And I know everybody asks me, what if the Bills make it? I don't know yet. I don't know what I would. Yeah, don't know. I need my sleep before I come in. I can't do the show. I'm not taking the weekend off. Because if they win, I want to be here. And if they lose, I want to work.
Yeah. Right. If they lose, you want to forget about it.
Yes.
And if they win, you want to celebrate.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So if I don't get a lot of sleep that night, I don't know. Maybe I'll wake up for the second half if the Bills make it this year, right?
Yeah, why not?
Or if and you'll stay up if the Cowboys make it.
Yeah,
for your own morale.
I honestly, I'm trying to think, but I really don't think I would. It's just now completely off the. It's off out of the spectrum completely for me. I'm good for the fans, but I feel that way for any team actually. Whoever wins, I'm like, all right, good for the fans. Great.
Oh, I did get a few people asking me. I didn't see when I was at my dad's house. I spent most of the time with my dad. My brother was watching some of the Ryder Cup, the golf tournament, but he had the sound down. But no, I read about it though, and I don't like what happened. I don't like the aggressive fans out there. From what I've read, if it's accurate, what I've read, and I have no reason to believe that it wasn't accurate from the sources that I trust, some of the American fans were completely out of line.
Yeah,
in the taunting and yelling, and I just don't like that in golf to begin with. I just don't like it. I just it just when somebody's trying to hit a putt or somebody's trying to hit a shot, and you've got heckling going on at that point, that's just that's uncalled for. I wish it wasn't that way. I don't know what it is about people. They pay the ticket and they go in and they think that it allows them to do anything. But I didn't like. I saw a picture of the scene of I think it was Rory McIlroy, by the way, who had said previously that America is the greatest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great press conference last week. He said America is the greatest country in the world. He said, in the United States, we celebrate success.
Yeah.
And then to see him having to walk with, and the United States got slaughtered. I mean, they had a comeback in the last game, but they were out of it. They were done. They got killed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But still, you don't do that. To see the one picture I saw, the still picture with so many state police around, Rory McIlroy as he's playing golf is uncalled for, completely uncalled for.
Yeah.
In the game of golf.
Yeah.
It was pretty much of an embarrassment in my opinion.
It was weird to see it.
Yeah.
And I don't pay attention to golf.
Yeah.
So but it stood out.
But I really didn't get a chance to watch any of it this weekend. So, I mean, I passed by but I didn't see, even when my brother was watching it in the other room for my father, he had the sound off, and I didn't. I really didn't pay much attention to it. They were getting killed at the time, so I really had no interest.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because I didn't see it Sunday. I was traveling and everything else, and missed the majority of it by the time I got back. But this is a time of the year, though, that I will watch some baseball.
Yeah.
Because the playoffs.
All right.
Playoffs start. So
yeah.
I'm going to watch a little bit here or there. Other than that, I'm getting, what's happening now? We're getting the cooler weather. You know what starts up now? My golf season.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, my golf season.
Well,
goes from really beginning of October all the way usually to the middle of June. If my health is okay. And I mean, like my knees and my joints and my back and my neck and my ankle.
Right.
That kind of health thing, not everything
Yeah.
else is fine. But.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be in the 90s at least for another week.
Yeah, some swimming still. I like swimming into October.
Yeah. I mean, we only go, in fact, it only cools down in the long-term forecast into the high 80s, mid 80s. So, yeah.
Also looking at the Babylon Bee here. This is some pretty funny stuff. Supporters ask Gavin Newsom to stop doing meth before posting on social media.
Yeah. Well, he really does. It's funny because that's a great, funny way to describe it. That he's going out of his way really to try too hard. And then when he realizes he's trying too hard, he tries harder.
Yeah.
You know? That's what it's like, dude, who are you trying to convince? You sound like you're trying to convince yourself. And it's worse than coming off as just fake. It's far worse than just fake. It looks like somebody who's desperate, who knows everyone knows he's fake.
And I don't know. I mean, you and I spent some time earlier because we find it really interesting. What are people actually paying attention to in the news? And we had mentioned that as soon as the NFL season started, it just seemed like everything was dominated by the NFL, where it became harder for me to get my stories on social media that I normally get because football was in the way all the time.
Right.
And some of the problem was, since my Bills have been playing well, it seemed like half of the little cuts of great plays were the Bills, so I had to stop down and watch it.
Yeah,
right. But I saw, and this just reminded me because the headline of the Babylon Bee also. And when we do the Babylon Bee, for people that don't know it, it's a parody website.
Yeah.
So that's not a true headline. Supporters ask Gavin Newsom. Well, it is a true headline in the Babylon Bee. Supporters ask Gavin Newsom to stop doing meth before posting on social media. That's just because he's come across as a nutcase on it.
Right.
But this one here, we don't need help against Antifa, announces Portland mayor, currently on fire. And it shows flames all around him. Sort of looks like the Skinnerd album. I started thinking, because it was like Pritzker announces 200. It was like 100 or 200 going into Chicago and 100 to 200 in Portland. And I thought to myself, are people really paying attention to that anymore? Does that mean anything? If we saw Tiananmen-like square pictures of tanks in the street, that would catch our attention, right?
Yeah.
Since the whole Washington thing and then Memphis, and the Memphis thing was with the governor doing it.
Yeah.
Is it just the mainstream media that cares? Does the are Democrats really outraged by the fact that you have, You think the Democrats are really talking about posse comitatus?
No. No. Well, first of all, name the three branches of government.
Legislative, the posse.
Yeah, and the comitatus.
And the comitatus.
Right. It's because I think it's not just willful ignorance, but I think even beyond that, it's what I've been saying. You know, what was going on in D.C., the activists in the media wanted the American people, the rest of the American people outside of D.C., to believe it was something that it isn't. Because the people that live in D.C. understand exactly what it is and appreciate it. Mayor Bowser was even touting the success of what they were doing and what they were accomplishing. And so when you talk about this type of scenario, I really believe that's the effort. The effort is the activists in the media, the liberal activists in media. They really want people who don't live in these areas to think it's something it's not. They're trying to convince people that it's something that it's not. And you're not going to get there. Number one, if you don't live there, you probably don't. You're not paying much attention to it to begin with. Number two, if you do live there, you know exactly what's going on, and you're screaming for help. If you're talking about crime, and you're screaming for help if you're talking about dangerous illegals that are living in your neighborhood.
Right. And so when you hear when Trump comes out and says, well, the federal government's going to send a couple of hundred agents, a couple of hundred National Guard to protect, to be security for federal buildings and to protect our ICE agents and our ICE detention centers, who's going to disagree with that except the already converted far left, for example,
exactly.
in Portland.
Right.
Look, as soon as we started talking Portland yesterday, we started getting calls. We had a great call, in fact, was saying, my God, what they did to downtown was reprehensible. And I know people that still in Portland that live there that won't go down there anymore for the nightlife.
Yeah, right.
They just don't want to go down there anymore.
Right.
It's like, nah, we'll stick to the suburbs.
Right.
And so to sit there and believe that people think when these politicians come out and say everything's great, there's no problem here whatsoever, and they're anticipating a problem, and Trump is causing the violence by egging on these people by putting National Guard troops to protect federal buildings and the ICE buildings.
Yeah.
Except if you're a radical, do you care?
No.
You don't care?
No. No.
As I said, when I saw the Democrats using posse comitatus, man, I burst out laughing. Because normally you would hear that. You think about our talk radio career. When did we hear that? When the only time you would ever hear posse comitatus would be from people on the right.
Yeah.
You never heard it from people on the left.
No. Again, name the three branches of government.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
Right. And it's laughable when they try and use it. Because at the end of it, it's a very simple equation for most people. It really is. When the left screams over and over, they're kidnapping people off of the street when it comes to ICE or, things like this.
Yeah.
The average person looks at that and says,
no, they're not.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not happening. I saw there's stories now where they'll weave it into a story. I saw one here in Texas. It wasn't locally, but it was in another city here in Texas, and saying, well, but some Hispanics are not venturing out because they're concerned that Trump because he's in deportation mode, will deport them. Well, that would only be people who are here. The only people who have to be concerned about being deported are the ones who are here illegally.
Right.
But the media writes it as if it applies to anybody and everybody who's Hispanic. And that's not the case. That's not what's going on. But that's part of the fear-mongering. You have to include that in the story. Oh, and I saw it written as, it's been reported that. Well, hold on. You're a reporter. Why don't you cite the report that you're referring to? Why don't some people say, give us a link to that report. Who's reporting it? And it's infuriating.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I really just wonder how much the media pays attention to, which the general public doesn't anymore. You know, I'm just reading this one here. The boss, Bruce Springsteen, says America is battered. We're in dangerous times at premiere of his biopic, Deliver Me From Nowhere.
All right.
I don't think anybody cares what Bruce Springsteen has to say anymore.
Yeah, and can we stop the biopics of people who are still living in rock and roll? You know? I mean, if they come out with a Taylor Swift biopic, you know, it's a little too early. When you're basically trying to pay tribute to them, you know, once they've passed. You know, the Freddie Mercury thing, right? You think of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did one of Elton John. I'm like, guys, he's still here. He can still talk about it. If you want to know, ask him. You know, and I thought it was just kind of weird. And then I saw the preview for the Bruce Springsteen one, and I'm like, I got nothing. He's still doing tours. I got nothing.
Tell your friends, we're here nightly. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. All right, so just reading from Axios because they're more liberal, all liberal, and just looking at some of the shutdown headlines. Open mutiny. Democrats angrily reject proposed shutdown fix. Democrats inside and outside Congress erupted in fury over a proposal circulating among Senate Democrats. It came from Schumer, apparently, to reopen the government for 7 to 10 days if a shutdown happens. Okay, what am I going to say next now that it's from Axios?
Why it matters.
Why it matters. It is an early glimpse at the kind of intense public backlash the Senate Democrats risk from the rest of their party, especially their base, which is, by the way, the insane left. If they do anything short of allowing a government shutdown in a closed-door meeting earlier this month, House Democrats fumed about a potential repeat of the government funding fight back in March. By the way, I was reading Breitbart, and they had the same headline that we had talked about earlier and talked about a lot when Schumer, remember, allowed the last CR to go through, and that is the Democrats are rejecting the spending levels in this continuing resolution of the Biden administration. Think about this.
Yeah.
We are 19% through the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't win again in 2028 and in 2032 and in 2036 and in 2040.
Well, he will win in 28 because there won't be an election. He's just going to.
Oh, he's just canceling the election.
Just gonna,
okay.
Yeah, just
right.
gonna
Okay. Just
keep going. Yeah.
But think about this. We are now almost 11 months since the last election, and still the Republicans are willing to have, when you put it this way, the Republicans are still willing to have a short-term spending bill that is actually from Biden.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are rejecting Biden's spending levels.
That's right.
In a closed-door meeting earlier this month, House Democrats fumed about a potential repeat of the government funding fight back in March. Some House Democrats saw the scenario coming to fruition with this proposal, with one telling Axios, saying that if Minority Leader, Schumer really tries to go down this route, there will be open mutiny among House Democrats. Everyone's always nervous about Schumer, a second House Democrat said. Axios first reported on Monday that Schumer was sounding out his caucus on a 7 to 10 day funding bill as a potential off-ramp if the government shuts down on Wednesday, which is what he's saying is, I think this bill would go to what, November 21st or something?
Right, yeah.
Right before Thanksgiving, when they would have to quickly pass another one so they could go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Right.
We know how it works, don't we?
We do.
We've done this a long time.
We have been doing it a while.
And so he's saying, look, this gives us a little breathing room. Let's agree to it for 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
That's our compromise. We're not going to agree to it till the 21st of November, but we'll agree to it for 7 to 10 days. No. The idea behind the Plan B would be to give the two parties more time to negotiate an agreement on health care without letting the White House off the hook until after Election Day. Asked during a press conference Monday whether he would support a 7 to 10 day bill, Schumer jumped on the question as a way to rule out any short-term funding mechanism. No, we have to do it now. Time is a-wasting. Schumer thundered.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they have it.
Okay.
Schumer thundered.
He did.
Does Schumer ever thunder?
He's never thundered once.
Thundered.
He's never thundered once.
That may be funnier than Kamala Harris's morale.
Thundered.
We've delayed and delayed and delayed. He didn't specify whether that applies to a stopgap measure before or after the shutdown. So what they're saying, Indivisible, one of the progressive groups with whom the Senate leader has been interfacing, quickly came out against the idea. Trading away leverage in exchange for a pinky promise isn't a real strategy, said their national advocacy director.
Yeah.
Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair said nope. The only reason that Schumer would bring that up is because they believe, the only reason, this is simply who wins this political battle. Does public opinion go with the Democrats or go with the Republicans? I was reading that one article earlier where Republicans believe this is all going to go against Democrats. And you also hear that, you hear this from Democrats. Schumer's only doing this. We don't believe he wants to do it. He's only doing it so AOC doesn't take his seat.
Yeah, right. Trying to act tough.
Yeah. So nothing in this Axios story, and there's two different stories on it. There was a story earlier on it that was Democrats lean into shutdown fight with alternative funding plan. That was the but that was a couple of weeks ago, and but then you got to, because I'm now at the wrong place here. Where I'm looking here. Axios gets very confusing if you go to their website.
Yeah.
There it is. Here it is from yesterday. Scoop: Schumer floats shutdown fix. Then the next story is Democrats don't want Schumer's shutdown fix.
Right.
So,
yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that Schumer is scrambling, trying to save whatever, I don't know, credit he thinks he has. But the fact of the matter is that it's honestly it's not resonating outside that circle. If there is any importance to this battle, it is probably in that regard, whether or not Schumer can hold the line. I think it's coming down to that again. Think about that. Is Schumer going to be tough? Well, he wasn't tough earlier this year. He got it handed to him from his own party. And will he hold the line? Eventually, they're going to come to a deal. And if the government shuts down, yeah, it's going to be because, you know, the one thing that Trump has been very good and successful at in moments like this, most often, is getting the message out about how the Democrats are losing. The Democrats are losing. This is their fault. This is their fault. You know, the campaign is, hey, we put something in front of them. They didn't want to do it. They're balking on it. We can't get their votes. They're the ones shutting it down.
Well, what I found fascinating, and this puts question in your mind, how does the public perceive things now? And one of the things is, you and I have covered so many shutdowns before where the Republicans have been blamed, but everything is different now. For example, and whether it was Mike Lee or Ted Cruz, a lot of Republicans took note of this yesterday from Andrew Yang's ex-post. All right. Now, again, remember, this is a internet poll that is not mathematically, statistically correct. But still, the question is, well, these are Andrew Yang's followers.
Right. Yeah.
And he put out the question. Remember, Andrew Yang, he's the one that wanted, what, $1,000 a month?
Yeah. Basic monthly income.
Yeah, $1,000 a month. No, who would go for $1,000 now?
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh,
it's got to be $5 per person, not per adult.
That's your penny plan?
Right.
That is pennies. But if the government shuts down this week, who would you attribute it to? All right. You ready?
All right.
Trump and Republicans, 18%. Both parties, 14%. I don't know. 4%. Democrats, 64%.
Ouch.
Now, again, it might not be that if you did a poll, but the fact is these are Andrew Yang fans.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's like,
You know, and again, I mean, ultimately, overall, I think most people think it's going to work itself out. Whatever. And I think I'll say this. If there's an argument to be made on the whole both sides thing, I think it's in stuff like this. I think it's in a moment like this because, again, I think if you're a radical on the left and you want the government to spend trillions more. You know that's not going to happen. If you're a conservative and you're a fiscal conservative, which would these days also be deemed as another type of radical, then you don't have any hope that there's going to be any cuts, any fiscal sanity come from any of this. So I think when you're looking at it, each is looking at their own side going, they're not going to do much. Chuck's the only one playing a game right now because he's trying to save his own skin politically. And otherwise, again, as they point out at Breitbart, Democrats to force a shutdown to block spending levels set under Biden.
Yeah.
Something we mentioned early in the show was before we saw this headline there at Breitbart, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah. These are Biden and Democrats spending levels.
Right.
That they set during the Biden administration.
Right.
This is how radical their party is. They're like, blow it all up, blow it all up.
Exactly.
Just blow it all up. We don't care anymore.
Right. And they don't. And so I don't think there's great confidence by the American people. And I think also, aside from that, those who aren't paying as close attention are looking at it going, yeah, they always get past the shutdown. A shutdown never lasts for long.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And then since in Axios, reading Axios, some different articles there, Democrats turn back to tough-on-crime policies. A growing number of Democratic officials are embracing tough-on-crime strategies in ways not seen since the 1990s, seeking to counter President Trump's focus on high violent crime rates in Democrat-led cities. Why it matters. Shootings in Chicago and other cities, along with high-profile slayings, especially the fatal stabbing of a Ukrainian refugee on the light rail in Charlotte, have inspired moderate Democrats to push stepped-up anti-crime plans. So, and they just go through some of the Democrats that are, involved in that. But it's not a majority, as we all know. It's not a majority. It's not a majority on the federal level.
Well, again, we're old enough to remember when the Democrats were talking about it. Well, everybody politically. Tough on crime, tough on crime. My opponent isn't tough on crime. I'm tough on crime. But now it's how dare you arrest these criminals?
It is.
And I again, the strategy, because quite frankly, we always say, well, in the meeting, this happened and this happened. Actually, there aren't meetings anymore. They're not having meetings. They're just going with this. They're just running with this. Deference to the criminals. And criminal illegal immigrants who are here. Give deference to them. We'll make a hero. Let's come up with a name for them. Each of them will make them sound like heroes. Okay, let's call him a Maryland man. He's a Maryland man. He's a Maryland dad. It's honestly where they are today. Yeah, the party, if the party had decided, listen, we're going to go tough on crime again, that would have shocked me, but that's not happening. As you point out, it's only a few.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.